Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tony Talks at Get Up and Grow, where I have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, and change makers, people that don't just do well in the world, but are also doing good in the world, that are giving back and contributing of their knowledge and their time to help people and help this world, make this world a better place. Today, I have, aside from my dogs in the background barking, I have a very good friend of mine, Judi Glova, meeting us. She is actually in the waiting room. I'm just going to bring her right in. She is an intuitive coach, a high performance coach as well. Actually, I should say she's an intuitive leadership expert. So she's going to be teaching us about that today. Let me bring Judi on. She's already waiting for us. And here we go. There she is. Hey, Judi, how are you?
Good. I'm so honored to be here today, Tony. Thank you. And I just want to acknowledge that, this is a great platform for people to connect during this time. I mean, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and just being able to bring people together, I think, is an amazing service. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. This is great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to have you. And the topic that we're going to be discussing today, leadership, is so important because, listen, who doesn't need more and better leadership today? Right? In today's world, especially where things are all shaken and people are scared and concerned. And what we need our leaders to step up. That's right. Politicians, we need you guys to step up and do the right thing for the people, not just for your office. Yes, I said it. I went political. I did. And this isn't going red or blue or R or D. It's about across the board. Everybody just needs to be a leader. And sometimes being a leader is doing what's unpopular to some, but what's good for the public. Anyway, before going
Absolutely.
there, I'm just going to encourage everyone to share this video and engage in this conversation. Ask some questions, make some comments. Judi is an amazing leader and teacher herself. She now lives in Los Angeles, but she's originally from New Jersey, not very far from where I am. We've been friends for many years, right? We met, I don't even know how many years ago when you were on my team at Business at Destiny, right? I don't even know.
Yeah, about 14 years ago. 14 years ago.
14 years ago. Good Lord, that was a long time. Honestly, I would have probably said 7 or 8. 14. Wow. Time does fly. They say time flies when you're having fun. I say time flies whether you're having fun or not. Just when you're not having fun, time doesn't seem to go as fast. So today we're going to be talking about leadership and intuitive leadership specifically, which is something that you and I have spoken about in the past. So before getting into it, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what a little bit of your story and how you got to be, who you are, where you are.
Yeah, for the past, the first 17 years of my career, I was in the pharmaceutical industry, and again, right in New Jersey, born and raised, and really got, so much great experience in terms of being in the corporate world. And I learned so many lessons. I learned what not to do as well as what to do. There were some amazing leaders that I worked for, people that I hold in high regard. But what was interesting is that, being on the inside of a corporation, I felt in a way there were some leaders that if we just wish that we had more of them. So I felt like I could do more by being on the outside and being able to create better leaders in the corporate world to be able to support people. And part of my come to Jesus, so to speak, was the fact that I was such a people pleaser that I got into really bad panic attacks and stuff like that because I held all of the responsibility on my shoulders. And I was doing leadership, right? I was doing what I thought a leader needed to do. So as we talked about, I am an expert in intuitive leadership, and leadership starts from the inside out, right? Mm-hmm. How are you internally? What are your internal values? How are you tapping in? And are you aligned with who you are and what you're doing? Because the other thing is that I found out in the corporate world, not only were, people were people pleasers, but they were stressing out, taking so much of the responsibility, but also it's like, they weren't feeling like what they were doing was aligned with who they were, but they were trying to fit into this, the square peg round hole and oh, I just need to suck it up. And people were miserable. So that was the other calling that I had. I'm like, you know what? I really want people to be doing what they love because I do what I love, being able to work and do executive coaching and leadership training and development. I mean, that's been my love for the past 15 years. And not only do I have my own clients, but I also work with the Center for Creative Leadership, which is an international institute that studies leadership and delivers programs around the world. So not only do I work, in the United States, but they fly me all around the world doing leadership training and development. So part of my love was that, getting that philosophy of, inside out leadership. How do we get that aligned? Because that's when we're our most productive, we're happy. And I also realized that there were 4 key things that when I work with my executives, there's 4 key things that they go through in order to get that inner alignment. And the one is clarity, get that clarity of who they are and what they want to do. The second is ownership. How do they own their leadership as opposed to, just kind of faking it or feeling like they're the imposter. I mean, I can't tell you how many people tell me that they feel like they're this imposter, that any day now people are going to find out that they aren't as smart as they are, or they think that other people think they are. And then the resilience, because, the road to success, Tony, right? I mean, in your career, success is not a straight line. There's a lot of dips and turns, and, I definitely went around the spiral a few times.
I shared something this morning, if I can just interject there for a second, when you hear, everybody thinks that success is a line, right? The reality of it is there's twists and turns, much like, flying from New Jersey to California. The plane is off course 97% of the time, but yet it still manages to get there, right? Because they set their line, and their line is, their destination is certain, but the way they get there, well, and that's a bit of a different analogy, but their destination is certain. They're on their line, but because of the headwinds and the weight and this and that, at the time of the day and the moon and the stars and everything else, the plane is always off course. So they're having to constantly adjust to get back on that line. And success is very much that, right? But I was telling someone this morning, one of my clients, because obviously one of my coaching clients as well, I said, what we want to do is, if this is your line of success and this is you back here, you're always going to be going in and out of the line. The idea behind working with someone that is going to be working with you to help keep you in line is so that those variations from side to side aren't, death swings, right? They're not so extreme that, you're afraid of the valley, you're afraid of the peak. You don't even know which way you're going. So
I love it. I'm going to use that. You want them to be death spirals.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I love your analogy, but I also think it's, both of us love Tony Robbins, and he talks about spiral dynamics, but I even think in terms of leadership, and this was my journey of, I learned a lesson, and sometimes I came around and I learned it again, but sometimes I learned it at a higher level. So for me, leadership and development and learning and success, it's like a spiral. You kind of go around the block and you learn the same lesson sometimes, but hopefully if you're in constant and continuous improvement, you're continuing to learn as you go up.
Right. Well, hopefully you continue going up and you just don't keep going in the same spiral, right? Because that's right. A lot of people get stuck in that. A lot of people get stuck on the same level. The idea behind the spiral is working your way up, right?
Right. So, and that's the fourth thing. My fourth element is elevation. So it's being able to integrate and transcend what you've learned. So it's not just learning, it's not just having the lessons, it's learning from the lessons and integrating what you've learned so that you can take your game to the next level. Because no one wants to stay stagnant, right? The number one thing that makes people happy is progress. Like, just show me that I'm making some kind of progress on that spiral. How am I going up? How am I somehow getting to a higher level? Everybody has to have those four things: clarity, ownership, resilience, and elevation. It's across the board. It's the foundation. So what I'm passionate about is what I love to work on.
That's awesome. Listen, and that's why we're talking, right? Because, I try to bring a variety of topics to the listeners. And this is one that we touch on a lot. Leadership is certainly something that, and I say it all the time, it does start indeed with you, right? So just like leadership is influence. I talk about influence a lot. Leadership is the ability to influence and having people to influence. And the person that you've got to lead, the most important person you've got to lead, the most important person you've got to influence is yourself, right? So that's where it starts. So
absolutely.
you speak about it a lot, but I love your twist on it, because you talk about the intuitive leadership, right?
Mhm.
So that
Right.
it's a little bit, you had a little different flavor to it, which is what I love.
And part of what the number one strategy that people use that get in their way of being able to have that intuitive leadership is, we have all these feelings, and, sometimes we get upset when we have our businesses. There's things, in our careers that set us off. And I like to think in terms of my visual here, right? So let me just get this in here the right way.
Mhm.
Oh, it's weird. It's backwards. I can't get it in the right way. Isn't that funny?
I know.
Okay. So
There we go.
it's back. But we all have this ball of fears, anger, uncertainty, stress, overwhelm, worry, right? We all have this ball. And most of the time we're trying to just suppress it and pretend it's not there. Like, okay, I don't have any problems. It's okay. I have no worries. And this strategy doesn't work. You know why? Because have you ever been in a pool? Have you ever been in a pool and you're trying to work with a ball and you're trying to push the ball underneath the water? Ever done that? Ever?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. What happens when you put that ball underwater? Eventually, what happens?
More pressure. It comes up even faster than the further down you push it, the more it explodes upwards.
Right. So what we think our strategy is that we're just going to stuff all those emotions down and all those feelings. We're going to shove them down underneath the water. And then eventually it comes up and it hits us in the face. And it takes so much energy. It drains so much energy out of us. And that's the number one thing that I see with people that are like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I'm overwhelmed. I'm this and that. And I'm like, well, what are you doing with all those feelings? Are you doing anything with them? Are you processing them? And they're like, well, I don't know. They're just feelings. So I just stick a pin in it and I'll come back to it later. I mean, literally those are things that people say.
Oh, they'll definitely come back. They'll definitely come back to it later, just not the way they want to.
Yeah.
And they hit the bridge, right? At 80 miles an hour.
Or it's kind of like the Tom and Jerry or the Bugs Bunny cartoons where you stuff the dust underneath the rug and then the rug has a big bump on it.
Right.
They don't really go away. So it's being so effective is how do we make sure that we're freeing up all of our energy and all of our space to be effective, to be productive. So that's really the number one strategy that gets in our way. And one of the key tools that I share with my clients is, how do you let that go? How do we let go? How do we get rid of some of those things that we're holding on to so that we can be more effective? Yeah,
absolutely. So what are some of the strategies would you say are the ones that work best?
Okay, so I'm gonna show you something that's based on the Sedona method, but I want you guys to take a pen. Do you have a pen by any chance? Great. Okay. So I want you to take the pen and roll it on your palm, right? Is the pen attached to your palm?
It's not.
No, right? So if you think of your hand as consciousness or your gut, and you think of the pen as your thoughts or your feelings, a lot of times we actually hold on to our feelings and we think it's really hard to let go of them. But in actuality, if you take that pen and you put your palm down. Okay, so if I ask you, could you let that pen go, right? Whenever you want to, you can just let it go. Okay, was that hard?
Nope.
No. That's actually how easy it is for us to let go of things. However, as we were groomed and programmed as kids, we learn to hold on to feelings, to stuff them down like that ball, and we just try to suppress them. But the easiest technique that I have is working with the Sedona method, and it can be as easy as asking 3 questions, or it can actually be like a guided meditation. So first I want to just introduce you to the 3 questions. So when you get really jacked up about something, I mean, I don't know, have you ever had one of those days where you're trying to go to bed at night and your head is
Never.
Maybe once or twice, right? What?
You're speaking to all of us.
Right. So what happens is that you can do something as simple as asking yourself these three questions, like, could I allow myself to let go of that feeling? Just could I? And then the second question is, would I? Would you? If you could let go of that feeling, would you? And then the last question is, when? Because it's as simple as taking that pen and saying, when do I want to let that pen go? I can say now, and then I drop it and it's gone.
But I spent so long making that mistake and creating that pain and everything else. I can't just let it go that easily. It's been 30 years dealing with that. I can't let it go. I'm attached to it.
Oh, but are you? Try that again. Are you attached to that? Are you really?
Oh, well, I'm not. So many people do that. So many people hold on to mistakes because it's been such a big part of their life that they don't want to let them go. I tell people all the time, your past and your mistakes of your past, they were a bruise, not a tattoo. You don't have to wear those suckers just because they were part of your past. Nobody knows what happened 20 years ago unless you decide to tattoo it on your neck and say, here's what I did. You don't have to wear it, right? It's part of your past. It was a bruise. It healed. It went away. The only thing left is the memory you have of it, right?
And it's the memory that we hold on to. And if you take that pen and you squeeze it and you keep squeezing it, after a while, you're going to forget that it's even there. And that's the same thing with those bruises that you were talking about. People hold on to those stories for so long, they forget that they're there. But it's like they're still running in the background.
Right.
They're running them, they're running their decisions, they're running how they see things, how they see people. Like, oh, I know that person. No, you don't. You just see that person as someone who matches the same behavior someone you knew a long time ago, but that's not the same person.
That's right. You're not the same person. And none of us are the same person. I'm not the same person I was last week, right? Because we're continuing to grow and evolve. So yeah, I love that. And I tell people all the time, you never want to let go of the memory. You want to remove the emotional charge. But to your point, sometimes people are hanging on to that for so long. They have this pain, they have this anger and this anxiety. They don't even know why they have it anymore. They just know that pain is there, and they don't even remember what triggered it. That's why that's a whole happiness conversation. I talk about that, and it's true. It's about letting go, right? And forgiving yourself, forgiving others. So I love it. Could I let go? Would I let go? When would I let go? I love it.
And when. So that's the shortcut. That's the shortcut of how to be able to deal with that. But there's another way that I can, do a guided meditation of being. I don't know how much time do we have?
Well, I have to be off by midnight. So that's like 6 hours. No, we usually go for 60 minutes, unless if you're tight on time, we can cut it back to like 59.
Okay. Fantastic. Wow. I can take you through a little reversion because some people think that it's too easy to ask those three questions and expect themselves to be able to just let it go. So I can walk everybody through a little bit more of a guided meditation.
We can definitely do that. Before we do that, and because I always ask for questions, we do have a question from Danielle.
Okay.
What's the process for making decisions on whether to continue to work in the toxic environment for the benefit of experience, or whether you should leave because of mental health? You go first.
Really great question. So to me, when you've reached the point where you feel as though your mental health is in jeopardy, I think you've already answered your question. I think also that no matter, and this is my personal experience as well as, for my clients that I've been working with, it's that, you can learn in any environment. If you are that type of person, and Danielle, it sounds like you are, like you're that person that just wants to learn and absorb, you can learn lessons in any environment. And here's the other thing that I know. I never left a job before I cleaned up what I called, cleaned up my business, because my mentor had told me, if you leave a job and you don't clear up your karma or your part of that issue, it'll follow you. So it may show up as a different person, it may show up as a different situation, but chances are you're going to learn that lesson again. So you don't have to stay in a toxic environment. And I also think it's a self-honoring choice. Like, what's important? Like, what are your standards and how do you want to be treated? And I think there's an element of how can you make that decision to be able to own your power, own who you are, and trust that, you know what, I can learn in any environment and succeed.
I love it. One of the things I tell people all the time is we train people how to treat us by what we allow. Right? So in life,
100%.
I love this line, and this was one of Tony Robbins' lines. He says, well, I heard it from him, whether it's his or not, I don't know. But he said, in life, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you tolerate. So if you're tolerating, being mistreated by anyone at work, in your relationship, by your friends, and sometimes it's the people closest to us that do it, and they do it because they can, because we've allowed it, because we've trained them that it's okay to do that. So it's important that remember that you're training people how to treat you based on how you allow yourself to be treated. So if or when, probably, hopefully when, because if your mental state or your mental health is in jeopardy, you know what? I mean, it'd have to be really dire consequences for exiting that would make me stay or talk somebody into staying, right? Because your mental health is mental health, and nothing's really worth that. Because what winds up happening is when you're going to work and they're messing with your mental health at work, they're getting the best of you. You get home and your family gets the rest of you. And then you have bigger problems, because then that's where your relationship, you got issues with your relationship, you got issues with your children, you got issues with the people that you love. And why? Because, like I said, your job and your problems are getting the best of you, and all you got left is what's left of you. So
right, you're dealing, chances are, Danelle, you're probably dealing with a lot of suppressing all the stuff that pisses you off about this toxic this toxic environment, and you're probably pushing it down and trying to pretend that it doesn't bother you, or you're going home and you're crying and releasing it to some extent, but it's still it's still a trigger. So I support you in 100% in being able to be self-honoring, and assuming that there's another opportunity that's going to pay you as much, if not more. I would say, by all means, be open to making that transition into something bigger and better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Hope that helps, Danielle. So this little guided meditation, this little journey you want to take us on.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's an interactive kind of guided meditation. So you won't be answering me out loud, but I'm going to be asking you some questions, some yes questions, like could you allow, could you welcome, could you notice, like those kind of questions. And you can just answer them to yourself. And the thing is too, is that these questions are not commands. So I'm not commanding you, like, could you notice? Could you do it now? It's not like I'm asking you to. It's truly up to you. And whether you answer yes or no doesn't matter. It's truly up to you. So if you could just, put your feet on the floor, sit up straight, and take everything out of your hands so that your hand's free, and just take a nice breath in and let it go. And take a nice deep breath in. And let it go. And take one more nice deep breath in. And just let it go. And could you just allow yourself to stop? And could you just be? And just be. And since we've been talking today about beliefs and about what we think we need to put up with, or, being able to let go of some of that. So what I'd like you to do is to actually welcome, what's that one limiting belief that you have that's no longer serving you? Maybe you believe that you have to put up with certain behavior, or maybe that you have to be a people pleaser, or maybe that you have to pretend to be a leader instead of being the leader that you want to be. So whatever that limiting belief is, can you welcome that as best you can? And welcome any sensations, any stories, any sounds associated with that belief. Kind of like having a movie screen in front of you, and you're watching all the different scenarios, all the memories, the sounds, the pictures that go along with that limiting belief. Can you just allow that to be here now? And now, could you notice any sense of wanting to change it, wanting to fix it, wanting to hold it close or push it really far away so that you don't have to deal with it? Could you just notice any wanting? And can you notice any sense that that limiting belief is personal about you or who you are? Any sense that that's your lot in life, that's the way it's always been? Any sense of identity? Can you just welcome that as best you can? And just could you let that go? And if you could, would you let that go? And when? And now let's go back to the beginning and pick that same limiting belief, or any limiting belief that you have, and just allow yourself to be as present with that belief as best you can. Could you welcome it kind of like a filing cabinet, as you're opening that filing cabinet drawer and there's all these files in there and they're kind of whooshing into the air of all those scenes, those memories, those sensations that you can think of that are attached to that limiting belief? Could you just allow that to be present as best you can? And then can you notice any sense of wanting approval, connection, control, significance, or oneness? Can you notice any sense of wanting to do something with or about that limiting belief? Whether it's pushing it away or holding it close or somehow getting something from it. Can you notice that as best you can? And can you welcome any sense that it's personal about you or who you are? Any sense of me, mine, them, or theirs attached to that limiting belief? And could you let that go just as best you can? And could you let go of wanting to believe that belief again? Could you let go of wanting to be the one with that belief? Now, sometimes we feel like we're giving our control away to something, but could you let go of wanting to empower that belief to control you? Even though we know that beliefs really can't control us, could you let go of wanting to empower that belief to control you ever again? And could you let go of wanting to give your power away to that belief? And actually check, are you one that believes, or are you the awareness of that belief? Could you allow yourself to wonder what is beyond all beliefs? What is beyond all limiting beliefs and patterns? And just check, what is the source or essence of that belief? And if it's deeper than that, what is the source or essence of that belief? And if it's even deeper than that, what is the source or essence of that belief? Could you rest as that which needs no belief to be? Could you rest as that which is beyond belief? And can you notice that light that is beyond belief, that is your beingness? Can you allow that light to fill every atom, every tissue, every cell of your body from head to toe? And could you allow that light to actually radiate from your body and into the room as best you can? And can you allow that light to expand and illuminate the room and even beyond? And could you just allow yourself to be the shining light that you are? And you can take a nice deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyelids and back to the room.
Oh, that was awesome.
Cool.
Very relaxing.
So cool. Yeah. So I'm curious if there's anything that came forward for you or what's present for you now.
Listen, it's just about showing up as the best version of myself. That's something that I've been talking about, and I've had this conversation with you as well, right? I mean, playing small. Whenever I've played small, it doesn't serve me. And, I say it all the time, it doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve my family. It doesn't serve the greater good. So I'm a champion of that as well, is just being yourself and playing at the level that you're destined to play, and find that next level, because there's always another level of you. There's always another level of, just when you think you've made it, you get to the peak and you're like, oh, hey, there's another level. Let's keep going.
True. Right? Totally true. Yep. And I think that there's one other thing that I want to underline in terms of that exercise that we just did, that interactive meditation. There's 3 hooks that get us into that lower state. And we know that Tony talks about state, right? How do you manage your state? And it's your foundation of how everything else comes out of it, right? So being able to manage your state there's 3 things that are attached. It's the stories that we tell ourselves. We tell these stories to ourselves, and we believe them, and we believe that they're true. The second hook to all of our stories is that we want to change it, fix it, or do something about it. And then the third hook is that we take things personally. And this is 7 billion people on the planet, okay? These 3 hooks are what hook us into bad behaviors, limiting beliefs, and things that don't help us. They don't help us become that, like you were just saying, always showing up as your best self. So what we just went through was able to help us get rid of and welcome those stories. The thing is that we're so busy trying to push them down that we don't even take awareness. And it's counterintuitive that we think, oh, if we push them down, then they'll go away. But actually, no, it's when we actually allow them and we look at them that that we can actually let them go. It's Absolutely. The resistance. Oh, do you remember when Tony used to talk about the crazy 8, the 8 cycle?
Definitely.
Right? It's the same. So that's exactly what the wanting is, right? We want to change it. We want to fix it. We want to make it better. We're constantly in resistance of whatever that thing is. So you're in I'm going to push harder and harder and harder. And then, oh, I think it's going to suck and I'm going to quit. And then I'm going to get angry again. And then I'm going to work harder and harder. And then, oh, I have to quit. So it's like this crazy 8 cycle that we all do. And we think about how can I break this cycle? It's actually allowing yourself to acknowledge that that's what you're in. You're in this cycle.
Yeah, it's awareness. Sometimes it's just being aware that you're in this cycle, right? Because what you resist persists. The more you push back, Tony does an exercise where he puts his hand up, and you remember this, and he put the hand up, and somebody puts a hand up, and obviously he puts his hand and he pushes, and they resist automatically. No, he didn't tell them to resist. That's just naturally what we do, and we're so resistant to change. We're so resistant. And it's there's a line that says, it's not that we fear change, it's not that we fear the change, the change to what it's going to be. We fear changing, right? Because we've got to develop new ideas. But the reality of it is awareness. It's about bringing it up to the surface and dealing with it, because the further you bury it, the deeper it's going to get anchored, and the bigger the problem is going to be eventually. One of the things I talk about, and as a matter of fact, Tony was on Dr. Oz today, and he was talking about how Jim Rohn told him, he says, if an enemy puts sugar in your coffee, what do you get? Sweet coffee. But yet if your friend puts strychnine in your coffee, what do you get? Death. So he jokingly says, in life, there's sugar and there's strychnine, and there's part of it, right? There's good and there's bad. And our minds are the same way. So what he said is, you've got to stand guard at the gates of your mind, right? Because what you allow in could be strychnine, or it could be sugar.
It's true.
But it's up to you what you're going to allow in. And sometimes the deeper you push down that problem, if you've got some strychnine, you've got some poison, you've got a weed, and instead of pulling the weed out and getting rid of it, just bury it. Yeah, you just bury it deeper and give it a prominent place in your yard, right? Or in your garden. That's just going to take over. It's going to take over your life, take over your mind. So yeah, pushing things down. And listen, I was the guy that I pushed a lot of shit down, but the reality of it is, we have to listen. The name of the program, right? The name of my movement is Get Up and Grow. We have to grow through what we go through in order to get up and grow. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going through it. And it's going to be more painful the longer you wait.
Margie, I love what Margie has said is like, accept them and let them go. And that's totally true. It's like, it's learning how to accept what's happening. And it's like seeing the stories that we tell ourselves. Yes, Margie, exactly. And I also like to think of it as Tim says, you have to do that. Exactly. So the other visual I'm going to show you is when we think about releasing or letting go, the Sedona method, it's kind of like a box of tissues. And if you let go of something, right, it's out of the box. So what we did today was a really, I showed you 2 different exercises of how do you let things go. So it's kind of like taking that tissue out of the box. And I don't know about you, but like whenever I use a tissue, I never stick it back in the box. So chances are, if you release something today, it's not going to go back in. You've actually let it go. So think about how you can, unpack those things and be able to let them go, right? Our issues are like tissues. So just allow them to let go. And if this is one issue, you may have to come back to the tissue box and let one, another one go and another one go and whatever. There may be more than one that you have to let go, but you can do a release once on a limiting belief and take all of those tissues and they're all gone. Like you can literally release a limiting belief in one shot and do it in such a way that you feel lighter and open and more, more expansive. And you just have a clear sense of like, wow, I can do more and I can take more on. So yeah. Margie, I got your absolutely namaste. Humans often need a forcing function. Ask me how. I know. Tim.
Go ahead, Tim. Type it in. What is it? What's that forcing function? But he's so right. Listen,
yeah.
Until there's enough pressure, until there's enough pain, people don't change. People only, people do things, as we know, right, to either avoid pain or to gain pleasure. And unfortunately, people do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. Right. And at some point, wait, hold on.
Divorce and job loss. Seriously. I feel for you. I feel for you.
It happens. Listen, if it doesn't kill you, it really does make you stronger. So just, we're all grown through what we go through, and unfortunately, you're not alone. And you'll grow through it for sure. But what I was saying is, what the heck was I saying? That just threw me off when it came up. I've lost my mind.
We're talking about tissues as issues.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just about, you got to let it go. Let it go. Things come up. Things are always going to come up. And I had a conversation yesterday on another actually podcast that I was on as a guest, and I was sharing that, and this will go to Tim's point. And I'll share the story again. Yesterday I was walking, I walk every morning. I think you know that, right? You see my posts. And I was walking down the street where I live. There's a lot of horses, and there was a big pile of, horse stuff on the street, right? And I looked at it, I'm like, huh. And I thought to myself, all right, just walk around it. And then when I turned in to cut into the woods to walk by the river, there was another pile because there's a horse trail there. And I says, it's funny because in life, you're going to be walking down the road, and sometimes there's going to be shit in the road. There's going to be stuff that happens. There's going to be a divorce. There's going to be job loss, right? And you're either going to get upset about it, right? You're either going to react or you're going to respond. You're going to react and just sit there and bitch and moan that this stuff is happening. You can do that and just get upset that it's there and get angry at the horse and that, he didn't clean up after himself, or that the owners didn't clean up after themselves, or that it's still there, and that tomorrow you walk by and it's still there. You can get upset about it, or you can do something about it. You can clean it up yourself, or you can walk around it. You can walk over it. You can walk through it. Some people just walk through it and then they wonder why they're having a bad day because there's crap all over their shoes because they decided to walk through it. The reality of it is sometimes it's not even your own crap to deal with, but you stop to pay attention to it. And it wasn't even really in your way. It was on the other side of the road, but yet you chose to get upset over something that wasn't yours to deal with.
Exactly. And that's the stories that we tell ourselves, right? In in our lives, those are the things that stick. So they say that there's like, I don't know who actually did this research, but supposedly they say that there's between 8 and 80,000 thoughts that we have every day. However, there's usually 3 thoughts that we end up spinning about. Those are the ones, remember we talked about being up at night and we can't get to sleep, because it's those 3 things. And usually it can be something like, oh, why the hell did I do that? Oh, that was so stupid. Usually it's negative self-talk. It's usually not being nice to ourselves. It's the stories that we're telling ourselves that we're not enough, that that we haven't done it right, that, oh, I wish I would have done that different. Oh, I'm guilty. I'm this, I'm that. So those 3 thoughts, those are the stories that we can let go of. So it's the story we tell ourselves, the wanting to change it, right? It's the crazy 8. I want to change it. I want to fix it. I want to make it different. And then taking it personally, right? We think that it's about us, oh, it's our lot in life, like similar to like what you were saying before, Tony, about how even Tony Robbins used to say, you know what happened in your past is not in your future. It's not part of your identity. It's just something that happened to you. So it's like, how can you let go of those 3 hooks? Because that combination, all 3 of those things, get you hooked and get you stuck. So being able to let go of them serves you in amazing, amazing ways, whether it's a divorce, whether it's a job loss, whether it's, getting pissed off at your kids, or, whatever, a million different things. You can free yourself up to not be so locked up, and exhausted. I don't know about you, but even this COVID-19 thing, it would make me exhausted in the beginning, because I was just constantly spinning about it. Did you experience that, like mind fog? Did you feel that?
Listen, it's everywhere. Everywhere you look, it's there. You can't deny it. And so many people, one of the things I've been saying, and this morning I woke up and I didn't sleep well, and I look, and my wife likes to sleep with the TV on, the news was on. I'm like, why do you leave it on that channel? Because it's always playing. And if you're always watching the news, if you're always if you're always replaying the same bad stuff over and over again, then that's where your focus goes. And when you focus on crap, you get more crap. Right? When you focus on what's positive, what's good in your life, you're going to get more of that. So it really all depends on what you choose to do. And like I was saying in the story before, crap is always going to happen in life. Things are always going to happen in your business, in a relationship, stuff is always going to happen. But it's how you react. Rather, hopefully you don't react. You should really just respond. And sometimes you don't have to, you can just ignore it. Sometimes the problem isn't yours to be had. Sometimes the crap on the other side of the street wasn't in your way. Just let it be. Sometimes you don't have to, Winston Churchill, said it the best. You can't throw a rock at every dog that barks. Otherwise you never get anywhere. Right? Just in the same way, you can't try to deal with every single problem that you come across. I'm a guy that I'm always trying to help everybody with everything. Right? So I know I get stuck in that. Sometimes I just got to say, you know what? Not my circus, not my monkeys. Let me just keep going. I can't stop at every one of them, So yeah. So and
that was one of my limitations, that I had to be everybody's in everybody's circus and deal with everybody's monkeys. Right. That was my biggest downfall in corporate, because I was just all about the circus and the monkeys.
Yeah. And you know what?
That's a good point.
So many of us get wrapped up in that. So many of us get wrapped up in that. And I've been wrapped up in that. Listen, I speak to what I know of. If I don't know of something, I'm probably not going to speak to it. So these are all things that I've experienced and that I've felt. And it's just so important to remember that, you can't be all things to all people. Otherwise you can't really be there for anyone, much less yourself. You wind up getting lost in if you're trying to do everything for everyone. And just, just like I said, sometimes you just gotta, one of the things that I've learned to do more of is say no. And I'm a yes guy. I like to say yes to people. I want to make people happy. I want to help people. I want to contribute, and the reality of it is, if you say yes to too many things, then, inevitably you're not going to be able to do them all. And now where you were trying to be a good guy, now you're looked at as a bad guy. Now you've got to say no to the things you really want to say yes to, because you're already pre-committed. And I think that one of the big things in leadership is saying no, because you can't make everybody happy in this situation that we've got going on right now. I know that wasn't a slip of the tongue.
Right? I know. I was just going to say, I'm like, the situation. I love that.
I'm going to coin that phrase because I've been using it so much in the last couple of weeks.
I like it.
Yeah, dealing with this current situation, everybody is trying to make everybody happy. Our politicians, especially, instead of doing the right thing, they're doing what they think the people that put them in office or whatever. It's about doing the right thing for everyone. Right now everybody's suffering, and you know what? You've got to make tough decisions. And it was a tough decision to have to shut the country down. And again, I feel like we're going down the road of, but this is all leadership. Talk about leadership and talk about, having to really step up and be a leader. So this is part of this conversation. So I'm not going to,
it is.
I'm not going to hide behind it. And it's an opinion of mine. And I'm not saying that I've got the solution, but the reality of it is, I've had people say how, they know of people standing on verandas yelling at people. Why are you, you should be wearing a mask. And people haven't left the house in months or 2 months or a month because they're so afraid. And they're angry at people that are walking around because they have to go to work, because they have to do this. And whether they're wearing a mask or not, look, I think that at least for the foreseeable future, everyone should be required. If you're going to be walking around in a group of people, or you're going shopping, you should be mandated to wear masks and gloves. But mandating everyone right now to stay home and just stay out of this is irresponsible, because there's many states that have very, very little impact. This impacted them very little, but yet the impact on our economy is devastating. And there's so many people that are suffering from the poor decisions that have been made along the way. And and leadership is sometimes doing what's unpopular, but what's good for the many. And what's good for the many, while in the beginning might have been to quarantine everybody, I don't know if I agree with that anymore, because, the pain that's being caused and the devastation that's being caused along the way is right now and moving forward is pretty severe. So everybody's got to step up to be the leader. Our politicians really need to, grow a pair. So for lack of a better expression, and excuse ladies for that, but I think everybody's an adult and knows what I'm talking about. But everybody needs to do what the right thing is, not what the right thing is, to make sure that they retain their position. Because right now, while everyone is home suffering and who's not working, and the hairdressers and the this and everyone who's, and people that aren't working and are having to shut down their businesses, they're not drawing a paycheck. You know who is? Every single politician.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think Steve said, if you want to be a leader, what did he say? If you want to make everybody happy, don't be a leader, sell ice cream.
Yes, I posted that one like 3 weeks ago.
So that's probably where I remembered it from. But, it's true. It's like, what? You cannot make everybody happy. And actually, when you become a leader, you actually give up the right to make everybody happy. You have to suck it up. You have to. Yeah. And there's an element of being clear and concise and consistent. And I think in a crisis, it's messy. Like, I'm not excusing anybody's behavior. I think we're all doing the best we can in most cases. I'm not saying in every case, but I think in
cases, yes.
We are. But I also really believe too that, going back to the mask thing, because I do have a position on that. It's like, you know what? You're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for other people. You're doing it for that 100-year-old woman that you may be passing on the street, that she may, you may not have it, but you know what? Just do it for her anyway, or do it for, the Vietnam vet or whatever who you pass in the store. Like, do it for them so that they have peace of mind that they can go out and get groceries. And it's just being able to be, giving, be that giving person, that you can be supportive of other people, be kind, just be kind. It doesn't take that much.
You're so right. And the reality of it is, wearing the mask, for those who don't know, that masks do nothing to protect you. Because even N95 masks, they've got to be fitted to you. You've got to put them on properly. You've got to squeeze it. It's not wearing it on your chin like a helmet strap, or wearing it under your nose. And it's got to be tight to you where it's hard to breathe through the mask. That is the only way that you'll get some protection. For the most part, most masks are just about protecting other people from what's coming out of you. Most people, when they speak, especially if they're speaking loudly, or they're forcefully speaking to be heard, there's projectiles. They did a study. I think it's something like 2,600 droplets come out of your mouth every second or something when you're speaking with intensity. So it's really about protecting everyone else. So that's where social responsibility comes in. And that's where the government's going to step in and mandate something. That's what they should mandate, to protect everyone in that way. But I fear that if our leaders don't step up and be leaders, right, and be leaders, then we're going to be dealing with a lot more pain than we should be dealing with, because countries like Sweden didn't shut down, but they did wear masks and they did do what they needed to do. Taiwan, they also tied down, and they're right across the street, so to speak, from China, but yet they were able to really keep their numbers down by tightening things the way that they should, and really, enforcing the rule. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people in this country that don't pay attention. Wear a mask. I don't give a shit. I'm not going to wear a mask. Well, they're the problem. It's not the people that are walking around with a mask trying to get about their business. So these are challenging times that we're coming into. That's why this is so pivotal for you to come on today and talk about leadership, because the world needs you're a leader. The world needs you. If you don't think you're a leader, you need to step up and be a leader, because the world needs you. You need to step up and be a leader in your own life, in your own family, in your own business, in your own community. We need more leaders. We need more people that are going to do what's tough, do what's unpopular, do what's not, do what's not.
Tony, I don't know when you said that you saw Tony Robbins on TV, I don't know if he gave any of his opinions or anything like that, but I'm always curious. I'm like, I wish I could call Tony and be like, so Tony, what do you think? And, Tony Robbins, because I'm like curious.
Oh, Tony Robbins, the other TR, gotcha.
The other TR.
I love it. Yeah, I don't know that he gives much opinion on that, except I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched most of it. Actually, I think I watched the whole thing, but he didn't talk about that. He just talked about, people living in fear, not living in fear, and standing guard at the gate of your mind, because we can easily let the media and all this poison come into our minds and poison our minds, poison our hearts, make us angry, make us anxious, make us live in fear. And that's the worst thing that you can do, because the reality of it is, for every minute that you spend in fear and anxiety and hate and anger, it weakens your immune system up to 5 hours, right? 4 to 5 hours for every minute you spend feeling that anger, feeling that anxiety. In reverse, for every minute. For every minute.
Vesna is saying we need to increase our immune systems. Yes, absolutely. And I know, Vesna, you also mentioned that, you don't think masks are good for us. And I want to honor your opinion. I mean, honestly, you may actually have some background in the wearing of masks. I'm not sure. But I do think, for me, it's a personal choice that I think I want to wear one for other people. Yeah. So I want to honor her. And
no, I get it. But the reality is, masks keep our saliva, our projectiles from coming out. That's 100% that does work. So I understand that they may not be. That's why you got to get a good quality mask. Otherwise, if you're breathing through crap, then unfortunately that could not be good for you. But the reality of it is, just kind of going back to I think what I was saying is, so one of the ways that we strengthen our immune system is when we can be happy, when we can laugh, when we can maybe watch some comedy and enjoy ourselves and be in a happy place or a joyful place, because we can, based on what we focused on. The bad shit, like I said, is always available to focus on, but so is the good stuff. So when you focus on the good and you feel good for every minute that you're spending in joy and happiness, it could increase your immune system and boost your immune system. So our thoughts really do have a tremendous impact on our immune system. So if you live in fear, constantly living in fear and living in anxiety, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. So stop watching the TV, because those guys are saying the same goddamn thing every time. Remember, it's about the ratings. It's sensationalism. They speak very little.
I think we'll run or do some brisk walking, because the research shows that as little as 30 to 60 minutes of brisk aerobic activity boosts our immune system. Yeah. And I do think that I really would like to have more of a conversation about how do we boost our immune systems, as opposed to being scared shitless that our immune system is going to be hit. I wish they would spend just as much time telling us what we should be doing that'll help us and support us. And I think that would be really beneficial, because I love to learn about vitamins and things like that, that support me. You know, having an alkaline based diet, right? Having your system, you know, taking vitamins that are, you know, that are like zinc and other things. Like there's things that we can do. And I just love the people that are about solution oriented, right? We were talking earlier today.
You stop it with your common sense. What are you doing?
Well, we were talking earlier today about, you know, it's not having enough resources. It's not being resourceful enough. So it's like, I would love to have more resource, you know, having more information to how can I be resourceful?
Yeah. Well, listen, that's what these shows are. That's what the Get Up and Grow. And that's what so many of the people, there's a lot of people putting out good content, you know, ingest the things that you want, that's going to make you feel good, that's going to expand your mind, read things that are going to help you grow, watch comedies, have fun, enjoy yourself, because by doing that, you're going to increase your immune system. When you live in fear and anxiety, you're doing nothing but hurting yourself. So step up and be a leader. Be a leader for yourself. Be a leader for your family, for your community. You know, is what I want to leave people with.
And I also want to acknowledge you, because you do share every morning. You're out walking and you literally walk your talk and show people like this is a good daily practice. Like this is how I get, you know, my joy. This is how I get my exercise, my fresh air. I know, again, Vesna is also talking about going to the beach. Absolutely. Being out in fresh air is amazing for our health. I think that's a great thing to do. But Tony, you're definitely a great role model for daily practices that support you in your mind, in your health, and all around. So thank you for that.
Just doing my part. Thank you for that. So we've already hit an hour. So any last thoughts? And by the way, you know, share with us if you could type it in the comments, or I'll type it in. Where can people find you? JudiGlova.com, right?
GetUpNGrow.com, and you can even take a free assessment for your core 4 leadership style, and then you'll get a report and you'll find out where are you in terms of that. And JudiGlova.com, and I have a monthly call that you can participate in, that we go through these letting go techniques every month. It's the first Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So that's 11, 12, 1, 2 p.m. East Coast time. So so I invite everybody to that as well.
Awesome. My fingers don't go that fast. So if you can type it in the comments, you can do it afterwards and it'll be on here.
I can tell you, for sure.
Join Judi on her Wednesday calls, and check her out on Instagram, follow her on Instagram, get her on Facebook, get into her website, get into her. She's got a lot of great stuff to offer. Listen, Judi, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge with me and with my audience and with everyone that's out here. I appreciate you and what you're out there doing in the world. Thank you for jumping on with us today. And for all of you who are watching, if you feel so compelled, share this video. We are streaming, like I said, on YouTube and on Facebook. So share this video and tag someone that you think needs to hear some of these things and some of these lessons, and certainly share out Judi as well. Certainly for me, you can find me on Instagram as well at Tony Rodriguez with an S, Tony Rodriguez 2.0. And if you're here watching, then you know how to find me on Facebook. And of course, I invite you to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. So with that said, I just want to remind everyone that life is not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every fall. It's in falling down that you learn. It's in getting up that you grow. And every single time you fall, you have the opportunity to get up and grow. So get up and grow, my friends. I appreciate you. Step up and be that leader that you are destined to be. Appreciate you all. And remember, keep smiling, because smiling boosts your immune system. Appreciate you. Thank you. And I will see everyone tomorrow.
Thank you.
Ciao for now.
Ciao for now.